Okay, so it's unfortunate that it would seem that I've got such a small image to work with. I'm new to recording videos and uploading them to YouTube. I'm using this piece of software called Screencast. That might change in time, but better to get going with something than not do anything at all. So I've already uploaded a video talking about David Icke's views and his revelation and his 25-year journey. And like I said, I find him very interesting, partly because I can relate to him having this kind of experience where he started seeing the world in a very different way. But I wanted to pick up from where I last left off in my previous video, where I was talking about seeing things, and this is where I am going to go a bit dark. For those of you that like darker, I'm going to go very dark now. Okay, I don't think that there's necessarily a few conscious individuals engineering what I'm going to talk about here and now, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. You've got 5 senses, okay, as a human being, and I mentioned in the last video that, of course, as human beings, we don't just see with our 5 senses, we see with the mind as well. So you see ideas with the mind, and just as the sun in the sky, when it shines on an object, helps your eyes to see that object. If you can't, but for the sun shining in the object, you wouldn't see the object. Yeah. Well, so great religious teachers, spiritual teachers, even philosophers have spoken of something called the good, or God, or I suppose amazing grace, being the light of the mind. Yeah, because without that you can't see the ideas. It's like the eye in your mind is blind. Does that make any sense? So you can't, if you can't see an idea, if you can't understand an idea, it can really affect your existence. I mean, take it for instance, if you could not understand, as a person, if you could not understand the ideas that run this world today, I'm talking about, to give specific examples, I'm not being all airy-fairy, mathematics, being able to understand timetables, bus timetables, yeah, being able to understand a tube map, being able even to use a computer, the ideas associated with a computer, so filing systems, even language, using language at all, that's a system of ideas. Actually, as human beings now, we work in quite a strong system of ideas, a complex system of ideas, be it with mathematics, geographical ideas, biological ideas, things which are common knowledge now, but because of the education that we have. But if you couldn't see those things, if you were blind to those things, you wouldn't be able to partake of modern society. You just wouldn't. If you couldn't speak the language. But anyway, I'm starting to get a bit boring now. But what I'm trying to say is that what people have spoken of in the past is that if your mind can't see these ideas, then in one sense you're blind. You're kind of disabled, or less advantaged than somebody else. Yeah. So if a group of people can understand a powerful idea, like for example E=mc squared, or the equation equations for electricity, for example, which mean you can understand electricity, and if you can understand how that applies to the physical world, you can actually generate electricity, or create an atom bomb. Yeah. So there's a select number of people who can understand these ideas and see these ideas, but you can't. Yeah. You're not even remotely at, your mind cannot see, has not seen anything remotely relating to how an atom bomb works or electricity works. Well, these other people are in a much greater position of power than you, because they can understand ideas that your mind cannot see. But you could look at it, you could look at this one way. You could say, well, those people who have that knowledge and have that power are kind of, you know, they're controlling me, they're overpowering me. But the sad fact is, until your mind can see those ideas, you'll never be on the same level as them, and you will always be subject to them, if that makes any sense. And it's not necessarily because they are consciously dominating you. They probably don't even know you, you know, and to be honest, they probably don't even care about you because they don't know you. They're just getting on with their life, just like you're getting on with your life. But the fact that they're aware of different ideas to what you're aware of puts them in a position of power in relation to you, and you in a position of subjection in relation to them. Not because you know each other, not because they're consciously trying to suppress you, or you're consciously trying to submit to them, just because of what they know and you don't know, or just because of what their mind sees and your mind can't see. Yeah? And okay, so yeah, so there's a little bit more about the mind. But when I said that I was going to go dark, how do you get, this is the interesting thing that I found, how do you get from, right, say you're a person wandering around in the world right now, and you see and you understand certain things, yeah? You've got certain things that your mind sees, and you've got certain things that your eyes see, yeah? How is it that you get from knowing what you know and seeing what you see to knowing what you don't know and seeing what you don't see? Because you haven't even seen it yet. You don't even know that it's there to find. It's not even on your map. It's not even on your radar. So how do you go from here to there? Does that make any sense? You're here now in the world that you're in, knowing what you know, seeing what you see, either with your mind or with your eyes, yeah? And someone maybe says to you, hey, there's all these ideas that exist, and there's all this knowledge that exists, and there's these things that exist, but it's completely off your radar. You don't even know anything that remotely relates to those things. You have to have faith. You have to, if you're going to move into that area and you're going to know those things, you have to have faith. You have to kind of, you have to believe that there's something there worth your while taking the time to discover and see with your mind. Yeah? And that's, I think, why a lot of, you know, spiritual practices and what have you, they speak of faith. Because you have to believe that something's there before you find it there. And that's kind of a mystery. Yeah? But the other thing is, and this is where, okay, I'm going to go a bit dark now. How is it that you see things? And I'm not talking about with your mind now. I'm talking about with your eyes and your ears and your taste and your touch. How is it you perceive things? You perceive things by sensing things through your senses, through your five senses. And there, David, Icke and I completely agree. You collect information through your five senses and your brain processes them. Yeah? Now, I've already spoken of things that you would see and things that other people see that maybe you don't see. How is it that you could stop seeing things or not see things that other people can see? Well, clearly it would be if either A, the information couldn't get through to your brain, so it couldn't get through your senses to your brain, it couldn't filter through, or B, that your brain cannot process what's coming through. So that's two things that would stop you from seeing things. Yeah? So, and how, let's start with the first one. How is it that your senses, you know, when information is coming through, how is it that they could be blocked? Well, if I kept playing music really, really loudly to your ears all the time, it would mean that you wouldn't be able to hear the quieter music, if you like. And if I kept flashing really bright colours at you all the time, really strong, powerful colours, you wouldn't be able to see the more subtle colours. And if I keep giving you really, really strong tastes all the time, firing strong tastes at you, you wouldn't be able to sense the more subtle tastes. You wouldn't get the whole spectrum of senses in. So basically, if I just bombard you with really loud, really kind of vibrant stimulus, then you'll never get to the full spectrum. You'll be limited. Your spectrum of perception will be limited to a small spectrum. So one way that I can make sure that you don't see everything is by just limiting you to this small spectrum of sensations, really loud sensations that your senses can't pick up anything else. The other thing that I can do is I can weaken you. And the way that I would weaken you is give you something poisonous. Now, how can I give you something poisonous? If I was going to give you something poisonous, you'd tell me to go away. If I said, hey, I'm going to give you something poisonous, something toxic, you'd say go away. But if I put additives and flavourings and colourings onto that poison and didn't tell you it was poisonous, but just said, have this, it's really nice, it's really lovely, and my way of saying have this, it's really nice and really lovely, is I package it up for you in really beautiful, nice colours, and I make it smell really good, and I make it taste really good, and I put adverts on the TV that basically imply that it's really nice and it's really something that you should have, and you eat it, and it's the best thing that you've ever tasted, but it's got toxic stuff in it. So what happens? Your system, because you've eaten something toxic, like it or not, even if it's just a little bit toxic, it's going to take you down. It's going to make you ill. And what happens when you feel bad? You want to feel good again. So you go and try and find something which is good. And of course the thing which seems to be very good to you is actually the thing which is toxic, because I've dressed it up to be really good, to be even better than anything else, and so you're going to go back to that. And because that thing makes you weaker, it means that it suppresses you, and so again you can't see things. Now, I'm not generating a conspiracy theory here. I'm not saying that there's people out there who are deliberately creating fast food and giving people alcohol and cigarettes and bad food and what have you in order to deliberately suppress people. The fact is, if I wanted to sell something to you and make lots of money, it's a lot easier for me to get hold of rubbish food. If I don't care about you, I can make a lot more money from getting stuff which is rubbish and dressing it up like it's really nice, even nicer than anything else, when it's something that costs me 5p to make, really, but I sell it to you. We all know that junk food costs nothing to make, but I sell it to you en masse, and you absolutely love it, and you become addicted to it. I'm not really caring about your condition, I just want to make money, yeah? And you buy it, and you want more and more and more, so I make lots and lots of money, and you get unhealthier and unhealthier, and you lose your ability to perceive things, so you lose your ability to be able to be in touch with the world and yourself because you're so damned ill, yeah, and your senses have been shut down. So before you even get to the part where you can kind of have that much energy and that higher perception that you can start looking at things beyond the basics which you need as a human being to survive, until you can start contemplating what I would call the world of ideas and the finer range of things, of perceptions that people don't see. Somehow you've got to get past this point of being blocked in by all of these things which these companies, which are just trying to make lots of money, have surrounded you with. It's blocking people off from the world and making them dependent on these substances, and you've got to get off them. You really can't access the spiritual world until you have come away from these things. But I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy. I've got 15 seconds. I think there are big companies with lots of people working for them that need to make money and have families, and know it's through ignorance that it's arisen, not through deliberate, conscious malevolence.